Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Multiplane Podcast. I'm Val.
I'm Ty.
And today we have
Tracy.
Special guest Tracy from Movies That Make Us. It's nice seeing you over on the other side, the Disney side.
Hello, friends.
Ty and I were just talking off the podcast that he's ready to talk about WandaVision, and I said we could talk a little bit about WandaVision today, but next week we will do a full episode on the WandaVision, because then he will have seen as many episodes as I have seen, and then we can get into it. But what do you guys think so far? Yeah, what do you guys think so far about what you've seen about the WandaVision? Because it's been, some people either really love it, some people don't love it. When I did my review, I said, you got to go in knowing that the first two episodes are not going to be what you usually occur with these two characters. I said, you're not going to have, you're not going to have explosions yet. You're not going to have superhero landings yet. But believe me, they have a plan. So pay attention. And just stay the course. Stay the course. So what do you guys think?
In my opinion, is that the people who aren't liking it as much don't know what they need to be looking for. Because when you say there's not explosions, there's not like things that'll hook you on, guys, listen to me, knock it off, lose your attitude. We're in the opening of phase 4 of Marvel here, okay?
Ty's going to put you in timeout.
Into phase 4, suck it up, watch it, look for the Easter eggs. And if you don't know what they are, get educated or just tune in, because I'm losing my mind right now, because it's opening up my part of Marvel that I'm super into.
So Ty, give us one Easter egg that people should look for. Maybe if they haven't seen it yet, and so you want to help them get through these first two episodes, or if they've seen it, but maybe they should go back. I know that I watched the first episode twice, because I already kind of knew going in it wasn't going to be my cup of tea. I wasn't too sure about it, so I didn't have super high hopes. But then when I got to episode 2, I was like, all right. And then when I got to episode 3, I was like, take my money right now. I'm good.
I don't think tomorrow. Okay, guys. So just a few things on it. Marvel never does directly what they've done in the comic books. What they will do is they will go in, they'll find pieces they like, and then they'll bring it to the MCU that we all love to watch. A few things. And within the first 2 episodes, you know who your top, well, not even top, but you get 3 villains already who are involved in this series. One, before I had all my theories, and some of them I'm still holding on to, but I've talked a lot about how phase 4 coming in, we're going to have the galactic plane and the supernatural plane with heroes and villains, and the first 2 episodes support who is coming in for the supernatural plane. He's the big daddy of the supernatural baddies. So I'm not going to spoil it. You guys already know. I've talked with some of my other comic book friends. I want you guys to go in and watch. We'll get really deep into it next week. But one of the villains, you won't even be able to realize it unless I'll give you a hint. You have to watch really, really close. Val, I sent you a picture of it. And Tracy, you've seen it too.
I don't know that because I say this a lot. I'm a surface nerd. I don't spend a lot of time on the comic books, and I really am a huge fan of the MCU. But after watching the first episode twice and then kind of opening my mind to how Marvel and Disney works and kind of how they worked us through the first season of The Mandalorian and then to the second one, when I hopped into episode 2, I picked up on some things that I had hunches about And I had no idea because I don't have that background. But I think regardless of whether you have all the knowledge that Ty has in his big brain or me and my little teeny nerd brain, I think you're going to notice things and you're going to have a lot of fun with it if you let yourself. What I'm seeing with a lot of feedback is that a lot of people in their mind, it's just too weird for them, or some people jumped on the bandwagon. They didn't get past the first episode because it was in a certain period of time in TV shows where there was a lot of sexism happening, and they stuck on that for some reason, when that's not really where you should have gotten stuck. Like, you've got to think about the bigger picture of what they're trying to tell you here, and what the story might be. I mean, let's think about this logically. The fact that Wanda is alive, and the fact that Vision probably not alive. Wanda, I said the word probably. We've had Ty and I have had this discussion, but I want to leave brains open. What I want you to think going in is that Wanda needs a place to put her feelings, and and what happens when we put our feelings somewhere? We put it somewhere familiar, right? When we miss someone. So instead of getting caught up on politics and time periods when it comes to men and women like that, stick and focus more to Wanda. Stay focused on Wanda's brain and what you think Wanda needs and where you think Wanda's going to take us. And then when you hop into episode 2 and 3, you're going to understand how maybe her world and Vision's world is working together with a few other things happening. I don't want to say too much, but excited. I'm saying just stick with it and don't jump into the other. Stay out of politics. Stay out of socialism. Stay out of where you think
political.
Guys,
it's just fun. Think fun.
All I can say is to the nerds who are on the level that they can understand the hints that we're getting dropped, I'm super excited that this is pulling a House of M storyline. If you know anything about the House of M, and that's exactly what it is. She's having a mental breakdown, so she's putting herself in this place where reality is perfect and she and everybody can fit in. So you're on the right line, Val. Like you're coming into the fold here.
I'm trying to give, but not like regurgitate. Because when the first time I watched it, when I heard about the storyline, I was like, okay, so you're going to have Wanda, you're going to have Vision. Wanda's kind of like, it's the supernatural thing, and there's going to be different storylines. I'm like, I don't know. Sure. It's not like, it just didn't sound awesome to me. And so going in, I was just like, this isn't something that I'm looking forward to. So I just turned it on. It was a little hard to get through that first episode. And then it clicked to me. I've been here before. I've had a mental breakdown. I've had to create. We've all been to a place that we've had to create our own world. Right. So, but the cool thing is that the talents that she has, and some of the talents that she doesn't know she has. Anyway, stick with it. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna like it.
What you're saying is episode 3 is really, really good.
I think what episode 3 does for me is and I'm just gonna say this, is what Wonder Woman tried to do but failed at.
Ooh.
Guys, just get past it. I'm telling you right now. First 2 episodes, you don't even know it unless you're, pretty deep into it. They are giving us our baddie for MCU Phase 4.
They have a plan. Yeah, they have a plan.
He will be the Thanos of Phase 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I know a lot of people, me included, with the first like 4 episodes of Mandalorian season 2, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just dragging along. And then as soon as it got to like episode 5, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. All that stuff that they were doing back there. And then it started moving faster. I can guarantee you, even without seeing it, that episode 5 is going to blow our minds. Like, just because it's just, they work on a formula, and that formula works, and I don't mind it at all. Do you know what I mean? So episode 3 is awesome. It's not like you're not going to come back and say, I'm so disappointed, Val, but you're going to be like, okay, I get it. But I think episode 5 is going to be, yeah. Yeah.
Little chef kiss.
Okay, so we'll talk more about that next week after Ty has seen episode 3, but we really want to jump into Tracy and the awesomeness that it was his trip. You went to Disney World and you had a great time. So we're going to talk all about Disney World and the food and everything. But right behind all of us, I have a little banner from your Dopey Challenge. So I kind of want to talk about, and hit your shirt, like the world of like the Disney running world. Because it is, if you've never been involved, I've gone to one of these at Disneyland. My ex-husband, my mother-in-law, and a bunch of family all ran in it, and I did not. But I did get to go to like the expo that they have where everybody kind of shows up. They all getting taped, buying socks, doing things. And then we went in the morning as they're all lining up, like before, they get called out for their group to go run, and we're standing with them, and it's freezing, but it's super fun, and everybody's got their tutus on.
3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, they did the Tinkerbell. It was cold because it's freezing.
It can get chilly. Yeah. You're out there at 3:30 in the morning.
I mean, none of us are wearing coats, but we can see our breath, right?
Right.
But it's just so much fun, and it's a lifestyle. Like, there are Disney fans, but then there are Disney runners that this is like their life. So in the I like to do it, and it's fun to I plan my vacations around this. Tracy, where do you fit in this psychotic Disney running timeline?
So I am not a runner. Well, let me phrase that. I was not a runner. Wasn't in track in high school. Never did anything like that. 5 years ago, I had a friend who completed the Tinkerbell half marathon at Disneyland. And told me about it, and the idea of running through the park. Oh, cool! Yeah. So yeah, the idea of running through the parks before it opened, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And the medals were just gorgeous. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. And so I half jokingly said, "Do you think you'd ever do another one?" And she goes, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, if you do, let me know. Maybe I'll do it with you." And then a couple of years later, she calls me up and says, "They're doing an Avengers half marathon in Disneyland. Are you in?" And I'm like, yes. And then I instantly said, "What have I done?" Because I had never done a 5K even.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I got into it. I've done several at Disneyland. I've done several at Disney World. Very different experiences. If I had to choose, I'd pick the Disneyland course. I like that a little bit more. You spend a little bit more time in the parks. Florida, everything's so spread out that you don't get to see as much. But I mean, yeah, you get up super early, or before even that, you go to the expo, and they've got all sorts of vendors and booths, and they're giving out free samples of stuff, and they've got some great merchandise.
Free samples.
Oh, totally. And you pick up your shirts, you pick up your bib. The next morning, you show up early, you get in your corrals, and then you wait for a while because they get you into the corrals at about 3:30, and they don't usually start till about 5. And if you're a slow runner like I am, that means you're not starting till 6 or 6:30. So you're just kind of hanging out in the parking lot for a while. But Yeah, it's
But they have
it's a
like a
great experience.
stage. I know the one I went to, they had like a stage where they had different people on the stage, like pumping
Mhm.
people up, and they had some bleachers where people could watch. If they weren't running, like they had stuff going on the screen. They had dances and warm-ups, and like it's just
Uh-huh.
it's a big event. It's huge.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've got DJs. They have announcers that do all the races. They announce it. They send them out in waves. So like corral A goes and then corral B goes. And in the meantime, they're playing clips from movies and they got DJs. And then when you're on the course, when you're running through the parks, they have cast members who are a lot of times it's like the overnight crew, and they're lining the roads of the park and cheering for you and clapping for you.
Oh,
We did a Star Wars one, and they had Darth Vader riding the carousel, and somebody in a Darth Vader outfit riding on the carousel, which was awesome. Over by Space Mountain, they had a bunch of stormtroopers, so they got characters out, all that sort of stuff. And then when you get out on the roads, either in the neighborhoods of Anaheim or kind of on the back roads of Florida, because they own all that property. They'll have DJs. They have like high school bands. They've got high school drill teams that are like they're high school cheerleaders. Like you can do it, you can do it, you know. And
yeah.
it's a really really cool experience. And I figured if I was ever going to run a half marathon, I'd do it with Disney because I knew that it would be fun and I knew that Disney would treat it well. It would be done
Right.
well.
So how many have you done so far, and where are all the places that you've traveled to do them?
So I don't know if I could count off the top of my head. I've probably done 15, 20 now, half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Most of them are Disney, not all of them, but most of them have been. I've done the Disneyland half marathon, and it was Toy Story themed, which was really cool. That one's got a really cool medal. I did Star Wars. They had a thing right now in California. They're not doing any races, because COVID, but even before that, when they were building the new Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, plus they were talking about doing the new Disneyland Hotel, but that fell through. Plus they were doing, the Bugland where they were taking that out and starting the Avengers campus. So like, there's just too much construction. So they paused it. Hopefully it'll come back. We don't know. But
we're all supposed to run it in 2022, all of us right here. So
that's right. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be at Disneyland. If not, we can go out to Disney World. But yeah, they have Star Wars themed. I've done an Avengers themed one. If you did the 5K, the 10K, and the half, then you got an Infinity Gauntlet medal with all the Infinity Stones.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you run for an Infinity Gauntlet tie?
So, yeah. I have not done any of the princess runs, just because, you know, I'm not the medals.
You don't have to explain. You don't have to explain yourself to me, man.
But there are guys who do. There's plenty of guys who do.
Yeah, that's we did the Tinkerbell run, and I mean I didn't. I was eating beignets and waving at people, but that's the one I went to, and there was a lot of people in tutus.
Well, and it's funny too because the everyday people, and it's cool too if you have a runner in the race and you want to pay a little bit extra, you can actually be on Main Street before the park opens, and we go running up Main Street up towards Tomorrowland, and then we come back down through the castle and back out through Main Street usually, and they get to cheer you on, and even people like just who are living in the neighborhood of Anaheim. And they're just like holding up signs that say "Go Random Stranger, Go," just cheering you on. And they're just like hanging out on a Saturday, you know, watching these people go run past. And it's such an uplift. I mean, it makes such a difference.
Well, it's free entertainment, and I'm sure they see some really crazy costumes.
There's some great costumes.
That's what I want to get into is like, what's some of the craziest costumes you've seen people run in?
I didn't see it in person, but I've made friends online, and they did the Dopey last year, and they dressed up as the flight attendants from Soarin' Over California. And so they have the flight suits. I saw a guy in Paris because I went to the Disneyland Paris half, and there was a guy dressed as Madame Leota from the Haunted Mansion. So we had like this plastic. And I'm like, how are you going to run in that?
That'd be so cool.
No,
that's my thing. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I can barely run in regular clothes. Like when we do our half marathon, I'm definitely gonna like try and like zazz it up a little, but it's all gonna be spandexy. I'm not gonna have any. If I have a cape, it's gonna be like this big. It's just gonna be a little mini, mini one.
There's a lot of really cute running outfits for women. It's harder for guys. There's just not as much out there. But like,
I don't think you should. You should
so
stop yourself. You could totally wear a woman's running outfit. I think that's you holding yourself back.
So me dressed as Princess Leia in Jabba's lair would probably be frowned upon.
No, I bet you would get a lot of selfies.
Cool. Me in a space.
You get a lot of people requesting selfies on that. Yeah.
I think as long as your pink parts are covered, you're fine.
Yep. I think you'd be fine.
So, and this is a cosplay I might try to do for Fanic sometime still too, but I think it'd be hilarious to dress up as Kronk. Have a little pack on and have the Yzma kind of hanging up right there. I've seen that done once, and I was like, that is one of the greatest cosplays I've ever seen. And so if you were to do a 5K, 10K, and all that, just running with Yzma on your back,
that would be hilarious.
So Tracy, usually there's like all this pomp and circumstance. Disney always does it big, that kind of stuff. But, you know, obviously this year is very different. And so a lot of people can do the runs virtually. You can do the run virtually, but you decided to still go the week of the run and go to Florida. So kind of explain your experience with heading there during this time of the year. You were there for like 2 weeks, it seemed like.
I think 8 days total, and I was 5 days in the park.
Okay.
I took a couple days off. I took the day of the half marathon off and the day of the full off. But we hit the parks. I know. After doing 26.2 miles, I didn't really feel like going over to another park. It was kind of weird. No, I got to tell you guys though, we joked on our trip down that if we were to if the government were to put Disney in control of the COVID response, we would be so much better off as a country because those guys have it down. Like I felt so safe down there. We show up at the airport. We got to ride the Magic Express, which is a bus line that if you're staying on property, they'll take you straight to your hotel.
You're going to be going away.
Other people had to stand in line sometimes at like 30-minute wait. We got right up there. We literally walked up to the front of the line and the lady said, which hotel? We said Pop Century. She said bus number 4. And then the great thing is all the buses, the seats were numbered and they would tell you what section to sit in. And then there was plexiglass in between sections. So everybody would space out on the bus. Got to the hotel with the Magic Band that they use out in Florida. It's a little wristband that has your park passes on it and stuff like that. I could check into my room and unlock the door using that Magic Band. So I didn't even have to go up to the front desk and get a key. I could just go straight to the room.
Nice.
The rooms were super clean. Like the remote control was encased in plastic. And they're like, this has been sanitized and sealed. Then they have, as far as the parks go, they've capped it right now. I from what I hear, they're at about 40% capacity.
Okay.
For a while, they were about 25, and now people have said they've definitely noticed an increase. And Disney's never come forward and said exactly, but people are estimated about 40%.
Still, that's like the best time to go.
Exactly. So you have to have a reservation. You just tell them what park you're going to be in. The week that we were there, they just opened up the park hopper. Before that, it was one park per day. But they had just opened up the park hopper. After 2:00 in the afternoon, you could go onto you could leave the park that you're in and go to one of the transportation centers, either the Skyliner or the buses or something like that. And they would ask you which park you wanted to go to. Then they would pull up on their iPad and make sure that there was enough capacity still. And then they said, okay, you're good to go, and put you on the bus or the Skyliner, and off you went to the other park. We only did a park hopper one day. The other days we just ended up staying at the park because they do have reduced hours right now.
Okay.
So they're doing like Magic Kingdom was like 8 to 8, but Animal Kingdom was like 8 to 5. Epcot was 11 to 8. So, they've shortened the hours down. But they have the great thing that was so nice is they have hand sanitizer everywhere. Like before every queue, there's one. Inside the queues, there's sanitizer stations. When you get off the attraction, there's sanitizer. You have to wear a mask at all times. You can't take off the mask to walk and eat. They don't allow that. You have to be stationary and actively eating or drinking. And then when you're done, you got to put the mask back on. And the cast members are empowered to remind people of that. Several times I saw like the sanitation crew coming up and they'd mention to somebody, they're like, now that it appears that you're finished with your lunch, you need to put your mask back on. Or telling people their kids' masks were off and they need to put the masks on.
Okay.
So very well thought out. A lot of times they would have spaces in between the seats in the attractions. So like Splash Mountain, there was somebody in the front of the boat and somebody in the back of the log.
Everybody's getting wet. It's a light ride.
Then on a ride like Rise of the Resistance over in Galaxy's Edge at Star Wars, which is incredible, by the way. If you haven't done it, holy cow. But they have plexiglass sheets. They have plexiglass sheets to keep people divided. And then they have sections where you stand. They have like colored dots and they tell you which dot to stand on. And it's separated from everybody else. So it was really well organized. Felt incredibly safe and comfortable. I was more uncomfortable on the plane and in the airport than I was at Disney.
Yeah.
So for your photo ops, you're forced to keep a mask on, I take it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they actually, if you take your mask off during a ride, we didn't see it happen, but they tell you that they will stop the ride. And if you take your mask off for the picture, they review all pictures of attractions before they send it to your Magic Band. They'll delete it. They don't want any pictures of anybody with masks leaking out. So, but when you go up to like in pictures in front of the castle, stuff like that, everybody has to be masked. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. I like all of what I'm hearing.
It was just, and I was nervous going down. I'm like, I don't really know what to expect, but I'm like, if I'm going to go to a theme park during a pandemic, I'm going to trust Disney. I have some friends who I met up with down there, and they were telling us that evidently Universal Studios is not doing the things that Disney is, and they're just opening up the park because they can. And so one day they hit attendance, like a max attendance, like a typical summer day type of attendance. And like they don't really enforce masks. They don't really enforce spacing. And evidently they took a lot of heat in the local media down there for it. So I was like, that's why I'm staying.
Well, and if somebody gets sick, that's like a lot of liability. And then they ruin it for everyone else because they're not going to say, well, Universal got somebody sick, so only Universal has to close down. They're going to close everything down. That makes me really angry because it's just like one stupid person always ruins it. And that stupid person happens to be Universal right now. Listen, Universal.
So it's interesting too, because all of the little carts that you'd normally stop and get like an ice cream or a soda, those are all closed. Even like the little houses, they have like the little houses where you can go get a snack, like in California Adventure, like the Cozy Cone Motel.
Yeah.
Those are all closed. To order food, this was really cool. You could make reservations for sit-down restaurants, or you could do the fast casual, but you had to order your food through the app and you had to pay for it through the app. And then when your food was ready, they would send you a text and say, you go to pick up window number 2 and then you could pick up your food. And
Oh,
you'd have
nice.
to show your phone to the line attendant. Then they would let you in. You'd go pick up your food. Then you exited, found a place to sit down, ate your food, and went about your day.
Was there enough places to sit, or were you kind of circling and waiting to sit?
No, we never really had issues. I mean, we'd kind of like look around a little bit and go, oh, there's one over there.
Okay.
But they've already pre-spaced the tables out. At the sit-down restaurants, you have assigned seating, and those were spread out as well. But most of the seating for the quick casuals are outdoors anyway, plus you're spread out. So that made us feel quite comfortable.
Did it seem like most of the people that were there were totally fine with all of these new regulations, or were you kind of looking like sometimes I see here in Utah, people are always just trying to get away with it when they think somebody's not looking, you know?
Right. No, pretty much everybody down there, we're just abiding by the rules. I mean, when you're in the queue lines for the attractions, they have stickers every like 6 or 8 feet, and it says, please wait here. And you just wait there until the next person moves, and then you move up. There's no fast passes right now, so the lines just flow, which I loved. I thought that was great. I hate the standing. So you're just kind of slowly walking your way through the queues. Occasionally you get somebody with like a little kid who would like run up and bump against you or something. But as far as adults go, everybody was really respectful of that. I didn't see anybody really without masks. Like I said, there were a couple of times where like one of the cast members would say, you finished your lunch, so now you need to put your mask on. And they're like, oh, okay. But it didn't seem like anybody was out there trying to like get away with anything.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
That was nice.
Attractions. How was there like was a bunch of the attractions closed? How was the feel of it basically? Was everything was operating?
Pretty much everything is operating. They don't have much entertainment right now. So I saw today that they're bringing back the Lion King show at Animal Kingdom like in March. That's an indoor sit-down show. But right now, since they've reopened in July, no shows have happened. So none of the Club Disney, the Frozen musical, there's no parades. But what they're doing is they have like little mini parades where they'll have cast members drive by in a car, and they'll like drive down Main Street, or they'll drive through Tomorrowland, and they'll just wave at people from a distance. So that was only the only kind of drawback, but all the attractions were open. Yeah.
That's cool. What if you could name like one thing that you actually like better that they're doing now that they didn't do before, and one thing that you just really didn't care for that you'd like them to go back to doing?
I don't know. It was really nice. I liked the capping of the parks. That was quite nice because it felt like it was the off season. And so often there's not really an off season anymore. There was more when we were kids before annual passes. And now, of course, they're doing away with annual passes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the fact that there were no fast passes. Fast passes are great when you have them, but they suck when you don't. And I hate, like, you get up to the front and there's the fast pass line, and you have to wait for like 5 minutes just in case somebody's coming from the line. And then they'll let like 3 people through, and then they hold the line again. So I loved being able to just slowly make our way through.
So you'd say keep the fast passes gone, like don't bring fast passes back.
Especially if you're capping, which I think they're going to have to cap for a while.
I think it's going to be at least 4 years until they're done capping, honestly.
I agree.
Which, I mean, is good for us. But, I mean, they need to make money somehow. So it'll be interesting to see what they bring forward instead of the annual pass. They have a plan for something else, but they haven't said really what that is yet. But they said there will be something. And so it'll be interesting to see what that is. Like maybe they're going to do like a seasonal pass, like for people where you can say, okay, in this quarter, I'm going, in this quarter of the year, because they really can only control a quarter at a time right now during a pandemic and all these different changes. But that would help them, just like thinking business wise to me, because you guys know that's where my brain goes, is that if they know how many they've sold per quarter, then they can actually know how many staff they need at that time, different shows that they can do, what they can open, what they can promote. So I think that would be super, I think that would be super wise. Plus, the people that live really close can say, you know what, for a discount, we could go once a month.
Right.
And like, if I knew I was getting a discount, you bet I'd be there once a month.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to, because for a year, I mean, if you do go more than one time in a year, you've paid for that annual pass, but it's just so pricey. And what if you can't go in the year? What if you only go once and then life happens or whatever? But only having to say, I'm buying a quarter pass, and I know that the third quarter of the year, I usually have some open time. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that would be super smart, because then, I'm going to be out there for 2 weeks. I'm going to get a beach house, and then I'm going to go to Disneyland, and that paid for my quarter, go to Disneyland for 7 days out of your 14-day trip. And, that seems smart. I'm smart. I should write them a letter.
Hello, Disney. I've got something for you.
If they end up doing this, you guys all get to high five me for having a Disney brain, for having for really knowing them.
The rumor that was going on down there, because right now, even in Florida, they're not selling any new annual passes. They're phasing that out as well, but they're still accepting it if you've got it. But the rumor is exactly that you'd be able to buy a certain amount of days, but you'd have to go into the website and reserve those dates so that they know how many people are coming each day to keep the cap together. Yeah.
Tracy, did you build a lightsaber? Come on, man.
I didn't. I did when I went to California.
So you've already done it then. All right.
I have done Savvy's. I was tempted to do it again, but I couldn't swing that
Life
one.
goals right now.
Now going back to the question you had, what one thing do I wish that they would do? Disneyland needs to do this, and they need to put this in the parks. This was at Disney Springs, which is kind of their downtown Disney shopping area. They have what is called the Dole Whip Nacho.
I saw your picture of the Dole Whip. Let me go to your Facebook page and get it, and then I will share. I will share this.
The centerpiece is a Dole Whip.
Okay.
And they have waffle cone pieces in triangles shaped like nachos. Whipped cream, strawberry sauce, and sprinkles, and boba balls. And it was so good.
You're appealing to my inner fat kid right now. Like, that sounds awesome.
So somebody mentioned it at lunch. We met up with some friends at lunch down at Disney Springs, and they said, "Oh, one of these days we need to try the Dole nachos." And I'm like, "Wait, what?
What is a Dole Whip nacho?" Yeah. That was half the fun at seeing your posts, was seeing the food that you were. I'm just like,
oh, and right now, you guys,
man, I need a Disney trip.
Oh, it was. I can't tell you. I didn't realize how much my soul needed it until I was down there, and I'm like, okay, But the Epcot, they're having an arts festival right now, and that includes the culinary arts. So they had all these little stands where you could buy different food, and we just ate our way around the world. Like, they had stuff in Italy, they had stuff in Germany, they had stuff in Norway, they had stuff in all the different countries, Japan, and just really, really, really amazing food. And then there was like all sorts of art. There were like tents with art. There's buildings with just art in them that you could go look at. The artists were there signing stuff and selling stuff, and it was really cool.
I'm going to share my screen to Tracy's Facebook.
The Dole Whip Nacho.
So that you guys can see what's happening here. So let me make this bigger for you.
Oh. There it is.
Oh, that looks good.
That is the Dole Whip nacho.
And those little boba balls.
Looks delicious.
This was the
It's
Polite
like
Pig
sampler tray? What is
barbecue
this?
joint. It's sampler. My wife and I split it. So you got mac and cheese, quarter chicken, brisket, pulled pork. Up in the top middle, that is cheddar and sausage. Then there's coleslaw, muffins, and then Mexican street corn.
See, you shared this. You're nice. I would try to just my tray.
It was extremely plain, but yes. Let's see what else we got.
I loved your shirt there. That was so fun.
So since this was virtual, and I'll tell you about this guy too. But since it was virtual, you could run at any time at any pace. And so at about mile 17, I got the worst blister I've ever had in my life. So I had to stop and get that taken care of. And then we went to lunch. And then I came back in the afternoon and did my last 6 miles in the afternoon. But this guy, he is at the hotel. He's not involved with Run Disney. He just is somebody who wanted to come out and support the people who were doing this crazy thing. So he's out there, and on his table, he's got Gatorade, he's got water, he's got cups so everybody can have their own cup. He's got energy gels. He's got little bite-sized candy bars. Some people like salty, so he had pretzels. Just hanging out and playing Disney music on his stereo. This guy here, the guy on the right with the Donald Duck ears, he is actually pretty well known in the Florida Disney running circles. He's been to every Disney race since they started. So 20-something years. And he volunteers every year. And he said, I knew that you guys were going to need something, so I'm going to come out and support you. And so he's out there clapping for hours for people. And it was great.
Now, is this one of the hotels?
This is one of the hotels. This is the Art of Animation Hotel. And they have different themed areas. So they've got a Lion King area. They've got a Little Mermaid area. They've got a Cars area. And one of the great things when you're running a Disney race is they'll have picture stops with characters. You can stop and get your picture with Cinderella in front of the castle. That, of course, wasn't happening this year. So I'm I'm going to make my own. So that's me with Prince Eric. This is part of the Lion King, Roger Rabbit. So there's just a lot of fun little spaces. The seagulls from Finding Nemo say mine.
So
Crush.
Cool. So, Tracy, in preparing for some of these, what's your workout regimen? Because, of course, like you said, we're all going to try to go do the Star Wars run in 2022. And I'm not the biggest cardio guy. What is your regimen like?
So I would start off with something, there's a really good app that's called Couch to 5K. And that basically kind of starts you from scratch and gets you up and going. With the Disney races, it's so great because they supply you with a calendar, and you pick which race you want to do, and they will tell you, okay, on this date you're going to start, and you're going to do a 2-mile walk, and it doesn't matter how much time, you just do the 2 miles, and then you'll have a day off, and then the next day, then you'll do 2.25 miles and stuff like that. So they slowly ramp you up and progress you to where you need to be. So on the Dopey Challenge, I was doing about 45 minutes sessions 2 or 3 times a week. And then on the weekends, we would do our longer runs. And so at first it was a long of 5. And then the next week it was 6. And then the next week it was 7. And then it would drop back down to 6 because you don't want to go too far too fast. And then they slowly bring you up where 23 miles before I left, I had some foot issues, so I didn't do that one. But
so did you get all of these medals that weekend?
So these are paper medals that somebody at the hotel made for those of us who were going to do this at that hotel. So they're little paper medals, and she laminated them and glued little ribbons on it so we would be able to have something.
That's
because
cute.
Disney is shipping your medals to you. Some people have already received theirs. I was hoping mine would be here today, but it's not. So I was like, oh, this would be perfect. I could go on the show and show you, but unfortunately not quite yet. So,
nice.
But yeah, so I was over, there's plenty of running trails down at the Florida hotels. Every resort has running trails. Some are larger than others. The one that I was at between Pop and Animation, there's a thing called Hourglass Lake, and it was 1.25 miles. So I just went around the lake a bunch of times. Some people broke it up, and some people like went over to Epcot and walked around Epcot and counted that as part of their miles. I wanted to do it separate from park time, but that was just me. Flight of Passage is incredible. If you get a chance to get to Animal Kingdom and do the Flight of Passage, it's based on the movie Avatar, and it's that and Rise of the Resistance are the two coolest attractions I've ever been on.
See, and I've watched tons of stuff for Rise, and that's going to be one of the first rides that I hit when I go back to either first time Disney World.
So this is cool. What they were doing in the past before COVID is you had to be in the park at 8:00, and then everybody's on their app trying to get the reservation.
Yeah.
Now they opened it up so that you can do it from anywhere starting at 7:00 in the morning. And so at about 6:55, my wife and I both opened the app, and we just sat there and refreshed. We got in both times. I knew other people who didn't get in the morning, but then you can go and try it again in person at 2:00 in the afternoon, and then they would get on. But yeah, Rise is phenomenal. It's a whole experience.
So tell us
you really
about this little girl
story
that was in line with you, which I just thought was adorable.
So the idea is you get you're joining up with the Resistance, and so when you start going through the queue lines, everything is very cave driven. It looks like they've carved stuff out of the caves. Lots of trees. You ride on a transport ship, and your transport ship gets intercepted by the First Order, and then you get pulled onto the Imperial ship in a tractor beam. You exit the car that you're in, and you come out into this building where all these stormtroopers are, and it's just really, really cool. Anyway, so while you're placing, so then they tell you that you're going to be interrogated by Kylo Ren because you know the secret location of the Rebel base. Princess Leia has a separate base. You know what it is because they tell you in the pre-show, and they want to get that information from you. So this little girl, we're standing on our dots on the floor, and she's like 4, maybe 5, and she looks a little bit nervous. And I said, "Don't worry." I can't remember if I said princess or if I just said, "Don't worry." But I said, we're going to be okay. And she looked up at me, and then her eyes got so big, and this huge smile broke out on her face. And she goes, "I already forgot the secret. I'm fine." And so I'm like, all right. So one of the cast members comes over, and all the cast members on the Imperial side get to be very brusque with you. They get to be very stand there, don't talk, don't move.
Kind of in your face.
You're rebel scum. We don't want to deal with you. So this guy comes walking over. He's got the full Imperial outfit. He walks up to this little girl, and he says, "What is the location of the Rebel base?" And she goes, "I forgot." He's like, "No, I know you know. You can tell me." And she's like, "I forgot." And she's got her hands behind her back. And he says, "Well, what are you hiding? What are you hiding behind your back?" And she pulls it out, and she goes, "It's my unicorn, and it shoots rainbows." This guy's like, "I'm not familiar with unicorn. What is that?" And so I'm just cracking up. And then as we left the ride, then I told the mom, I said, "Your daughter just made my whole day." And she's like, "Well, the cool thing is we're doing one of those family switch offs where the mom rode the ride with her,
yeah.
and then dad,
the parent swap."
She's like, yeah. So this little girl is like, "I forgot."
It sounds like something my 4-year-old would do.
It was great. It's like,
nice.
So
well,
yeah, I mean, it was it was a different experience, but like I said, it felt like the off season, so it wasn't that crazy.
So we're not, I mean, we didn't really talk about a movie today, but if you could rate your experience this last time for us compared to your other experiences at the park, like what would you rate it?
You know, it was different, but I'd still probably rate it an A. Like the magic is still there. Maybe you don't have the big parades. They're not doing fireworks. But that makes sense. You don't want people gathering together. They're trying to keep you spread out. I felt like as far as it goes during a pandemic, I mean, like I said, all the rides are open. They had plexiglass, even in the queue lines. If you're indoors in the queue, they had plexiglass on either side of you, so that plus there's space in front and behind you. But all the rides were open. Maybe there's not as many restaurants, but there's still plenty of food. There's still plenty of opportunity, and Disney just does it right.
Yeah, I don't think you guys were missing out on any of the food. I think you guys tried, because then you would like tag me in the food, and I'm sitting at home with my bowl of cereal as you're tagging me these delicious freaking Disney World treats as you're dining and Beauty and the Beast like dining room, and I'm like, Tracy, no. But yeah, I mean, I would say that yeah, they don't have the fireworks and the parades, but I think that gives you less to have to stress about, because if you're only there, you're always trying to decide, okay, are we going to see the parade this time, or are we going to go ride the ride? Sometimes you have to choose because you don't have enough time because the lines are too long or whatever. So I would think that you actually probably got to experience more because there weren't so many attractions for you to have to wait in line for and to choose from. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do. And most of the rides, the lines were not outrageous. Haunted Mansion was a walk on. Like we literally walked on to Mansion. They did not do the stretching room because again, they don't want to keep people enclosed in space. So they just had the doors open and you just walked through that room to the Doom Buggy. Big Thunder Mountain was like 40 minutes. Splash Mountain was like 20 minutes. The probably Flight of Passage was like 35 minutes. The Navi River ride, that was going to be like an hour. We didn't do that one.
Okay.
We heard from friends it's not that great. They're like, Flight of Passage is amazing. The boat ride, not so much. So, but we walked so much because we could just go from place to place. There wasn't fast passes. The fast casual, you could order food in advance, and then when you're close to the restaurant, you just hit prepare my order, and they will just go ahead and make it and then tell you when it's ready. It was really cool.
Nice. Well, Tracy, it was a lot of fun having you on and kind of giving us the rundown of Disney World since we didn't get to go, and also the rundown of running Disney World and Disneyland. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers that in next year we will all be at Disneyland running in our stretchy pants together. Mm-hmm. Next week, we are going to dive into WandaVision, the first 3 episodes, and I'm pretty much just going to let Ty like freak out for the first like 15, 20 minutes. I'm just going to sit here and just like let him do his thing, and then
I've already got my popcorn ready.
I'm gonna be ranting hardcore. Like there's a lot.
It's gonna be Tyler rant time, and we'll just let it happen. We'll just let it happen, and then hopefully I'll jump in and say a few things because I don't know that I would ever not be able to. And hopefully you guys will comment as well on your thoughts because I really do. This is like one of those things I really want to know because it is so different from anything that we've seen. And I always make it a point to say, I love it when we get challenged as an audience. And this is challenging us. Like, can you actually think outside of the box that they've already built for us, and trust that these people that have been leading us in the right direction are going to keep leading us in the right direction. So I definitely want to hear some feedback on this. And hey, Tracy, do you want to go ahead and tell everybody about your podcast and what's coming up?
Yeah, so I'm on the Movies That Make Us podcast. Val, you may have heard of it. We are doing right now Jack Black January, and we have done 3 Jack Black films. We did The Big Year, we did Nacho Libre, and we just did Be Kind, Rewind. And we will be finishing off with Jumanji this month. Every week, it's basically book club, but for movies. So we pick films that a lot of people have seen, but we always will pick stuff that maybe is a little out of the mainstream, like Be Kind, Rewind may not be on everybody's radar. But
I know
we
a lot of
have a
people
great
had never watched The Big Year. I got a lot of feedback from people that had never even heard of that movie before. So yeah.
I had heard of it. I had never seen it. Loved it. And that's one of the fun things. Like, you guys have opened me up to films that I never would have seen, and vice versa. Yeah. So it's just a lot of fun. It's a cool little podcast. Check us out.
Mondays, that's when it's on. We will be back at our regular time and regular day next week on Thursday. I will actually be doing the podcast at 3:30 with you. And then I will be driving to Ogden, where I will be doing a radio remote at a gym.
Oh,
so
cool.
I actually might have to do the show on the road next week from the car. Just you rant for the whole time that I'm driving there. And then as soon as I get there and park, you'll be done ranting, and then I can say something.
I'm super excited for this because I'm like Val. I do not have a big depth and breadth of the comics. So I'm excited to be enlightened and entertained.
I kid you not. I have goosebumps. Like, I'm feeling it. It's just, and people don't know what most people don't know what's being handed to them, like, within these first couple episodes. And I'm just like,
well, and the next episode is in 6 hours. So
counting down.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Hoping to get some big stuff.
But you know what? The real quick last thought. The great thing with the Disney races is they are very open. If you're doing like a 5K or a 10K, they don't really time those, so you have as much time as you want and need. Most people will walk it. You have like the hardcore runners are off, but the majority of people are just out there walking, enjoying. When you get up towards the half and the full, you have to do about a 16-minute mile. Otherwise, they may sweep you and take you off the course. But with the training and the calendars that they give you, if I can go out and do this, if I can do 48.6 miles over 4 days, anybody can do it. It's just the tenacity of getting out there and putting your feet in front of the other.
I'm glad you did it, Tracy, because that sounds awful.
Wasn't easy, but it was dope.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, and everyone else. Thank you so much for tuning in live on our Facebook and our YouTube. Please check us out on our podcast channel as well, Stolen Droids Network. There was a big announcement this week because we have a new show on the Stolen Droid Network. Tracy, do you remember what this is? The tabletop gaming show, correct?
Tabletop gaming. It's called the Let Us In.
Mm-hmm.
LETTUCE. But it's also a play on the words "let us in." Tabletop gaming. Erica Shaw is in charge of that one, and very excited to check it out. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff going on with the Stolen Droids Network. Check us out. Thank you, and join us next week while Tyler loses his mind. Bye, everybody.